So many times we have heard people say change is the only constant. And we have heard it so many times and we don't want to hear it anymore. But unfortunately, the reality of that is just too much. We were having a CEO conclave the other day. It was more like a Microsoft Teams meeting. And in our conversation, there were two CEOs from the food industry. One of them was a CEO, one was a chief operating officer. So I asked him, what is the biggest change that has happened in your company, in your organization, as you traverse this challenge of COVID and all these things? So he said, one of them said, there is no change. And I asked, why not any change? He said, no, we were prepared for it because last year, apparently we had a guy, some consultant who had come to them, internal consultant, and spoke about in case you have a healthcare related business discontinuity, how do we handle it? And he sort of like made an algorithm, an architecture of how to handle it, more like a BCP. I mean, you're all PMP, so you know that very well. So they created something and they said, we just followed it to the T. And we didn't have much of a problem except for a 3% dip in profit. Everything else is okay. When I asked the other second CEO, he said, we did not have any plan, but we had the best people with us. They all committed and put their hearts and souls together. So today, as we spend this little time looking at how do we adapt or how do we handle this adaptability in our organizations, in our own consultancies, in our own personal lives, when we ask that question, the answer lies between two things. Is it a structure that helps you become who you are and helps you tide over this challenge of adaptability right now that is required? Or is it the people, or is it you that makes a difference? Obviously, the answer is a combination of both. But let us journey together and see how do we build that. And I'm sure that over a period of time, when you would have thoughts that might be challenging me, there might be thoughts that agree with me. If you have any, I'm sure you'll put it on a chat, and at the last 10-15 minutes, we can take that as questions. Whatever limited knowledge I have, I'll be happy to share that and learn from you also. So let us go forward. I'm sure that all of you are used to this setup, so the slide is irrelevant, but look at this slide that is on the screen right now. Have we ever used this slide as an introductory slide anytime in the past? Most of the times we might not have. Few of you would have because of the kind of learnings and international partners that you would have. For a lot of people, for a lot of companies, this very slide that you see here is part of a new change because they were not used to anything that was digital. One of the companies I coach is a senior leadership of a pharma company. It's an international company, but it is based in Mumbai, in BKC, Mumbai, in India. That's where their office is. So I asked them, pharma companies are supposed to have medical reps who go to the doctor and talk to them, and that's what they do. In fact, I started my career as a medical rep, so I have a special liking towards that profession. And I asked, how do you manage? He said, we have no idea because most of our guys would not sit in one place for more than 20 minutes. It's very difficult to make them sit. And it was very difficult to make them adapt to this new change because the force of habit was so strong in what they were doing in the past that when it was a time for change, they were unable to change. They had to force themselves to change. Now, let us accept this. Some of us sitting here, we are around 65 people in this current group, 65 people with good experience and great education and experience in your kitty. All of you put together, you would have different experiences of how do you handle this case of adaptability. Now, I want to speak to you about two things today. As an organization, as a team, as a startup, as a possible new startup and venture that you're thinking, how do I look at this topic of adaptability? And the second, as a person, how do I look at this in terms of adaptability? So let us go forward and spend some time. The agenda I'm planning to cover is this: adapting versus coping. You already must have seen this: business adaptability, individual adaptability, the attitudes to it, what are the skills required, and what are the enemies that prevent us from doing it. That is the general structure that we will follow today as we speak. This is the second quote that I'm going to say today that you must have heard so many times. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one that is most adaptable to change. The original text says it is the one that is in mind, ready and adaptable to change. So if you look at it, it is a mind game. It is about how do we make that readiness and responsiveness to change that matters. So we live in this era of risk. There are so many risks. There are so many unstable things that are happening. There is intensity of work. There are so many things happening. We live in this era. Things are changing. A lot of you I know are working in AI or AI related projects. So today, AI is changing the way that the entire industry is looking at data and predictive analytics and stuff. You must have all heard of IBM Thompson. The other day, I had gone to Manipal Hospital. I stay in Bangalore. So I had gone to Manipal Hospital with my daughter for a checkup for her eye. And surprise to surprise, the way that they treat is not to meet a doctor first. There is a computer system that sort of like helps you with questions. You ask the questions, it does a basic check, and it sort of like gives you a full script of what is the prescription. And of course, you don't want to risk with that, right? So I went to the doctor, and the doctor is sitting there. He looks at it and says, that's my same prescription. So over a period of time, AI, blockchain are completely changing the way we are looking at data in healthcare, in a lot of areas. And I congratulate all of you who are working on such projects. And I'm thankful that people like you make positive changes for organizations and industries, making us adapt to the changes that are required. Another big change that is happening is the up and down on the financial markets. Some of you work in this area, so you know that I'm not going there. That is a big instability that is happening right now. If you look at it, two industries are right now going through ups and downs. One is healthcare, second is banking. Both of them are really going through a lot of challenges as we speak. Stable industries such as education, stable industries such as agriculture and bioinformatics, they are right now at a lower script, but they are going steady. Any industry that goes up means that something is happening there, either for our opportunity or it is for something that we need to take care of ourselves. There is a risk there possibly. We are working with increasingly wider range of people, the generation X and the Y and the Y naughts and all of them. We are working with all of these. And today, that is also one of those high intensity workplaces. I belong to an HR fraternity. A lot of people that I meet in HR, they tell me, Vijay, one of my challenges is not to handle the senior guys. It is to handle the younger guys. And when I ask why, and the answer that they say is because I don't understand what they say. So the problem is not with the younger guys. The problem is possibly the senior people unable to understand and recognize the way that others are behaving. So predictive human behavior is so unpredictable now. We do not know how they are going to behave. We do not know what are the changes. In fact, there are a lot of people today during this time of COVID lockdown, they have gone into an infodemic, the pandemic of information, right? They are going back to back, learning so many things, understanding so many things. So I met a person who spent, he said, 97 hours of webinar. So I said, so what all did you learn? He's a Malayali, of course. And he said, Sometimes that is what happens to us. We have opportunity, we make use of it, but is it worth it? That is something that we need to be focused in this era. If we let these opportunities pass by as business people, as professionals, I can tell you that passing away of opportunities are never going to come back. The world is changing. The speed of change, they say, is 1.7 times every day. What it means is yesterday, the way the world changed, and today the information is changing, is a factor of 0.7 more. So how do we make the best out of it? COVID completely changed the way we looked at life. People sit at home right now. I have two children. Elder one is completing her 12th standard. The younger one is in high school. So today I'm realizing that we need 4 laptops at home. We need a higher connectivity at home. We never thought about that. We have to adapt changes that are happening right now. My dear friends, it is not just the intensity of the workplace that is changing, but it is your capacity that is being demanded to be changed. Many of us feel that we are good in our job and we know how to manage it and hence are confident. But there are a lot of people who are not like that because two things have changed. One, there is more work right now and there is more time for work also that is spent. I live in an apartment where my neighbors, evening we just chat up and speak. In fact, there is very little social distancing among some of our neighbors. So we come and chat up and speak. And I ask, how do you find this lockdown time? They say, I don't know, Jay, morning I sit in front of the laptop. I sit late night also, but I still feel nothing has happened. But earlier when I was going to office, I spent 8, 9, 10 hours. I felt that something happened. Isn't that a mindset change? People now are working more and more work. We know the story of one chief operating officer or a senior person of a company who died because of the extra stress that was at work. So the effect that happens is burnout, stress, and possibly there is a lot of loss of confidence. Many people don't show it. I'm an executive coach. I meet a lot of people for coaching. This very room that I'm sitting right now is also a coaching place where I talk to people. The senior most people whom we feel are supposed to be strong are the ones who now come and say, George, I cannot manage. I've lost my confidence because I don't know how to handle. When I go to sit in front of a laptop, I do not know whether I'm connecting to my people or not. You know what is happening with a lot of employees? Because of burnout, because of stress, because of loss of confidence, what they're doing is they are stopping discretionary effort. Let me explain what that means. Let us say I'm going to meet a friend of mine in the same office that we live. Let us say it is in Techno Park. There's one building. You go to meet a friend of yours. You go there, and on the way, someone tells you about some work-related opportunity. You sit and talk and spend some time, and these are all discretionary, extra effort that we put in to ensure that all of us benefit. But when we are under stress, when we are burning out, when we have a loss of confidence, the first thing we'll do is do the minimum of what is required. Just save yourself. Save the money that you have. Don't put any extra money. So what happens? We conserve, which is a very normal psychological reaction from each one of us. But some people conserve so much that they lose the momentum. If adaptability is a key word that we are learning today, one word that we should not forget at any point of time is this word momentum. There has to be momentum. Things have to be moving on. Many people have considered the lockdown time or times of challenge or when there is financial insecurity, they immediately stop their work and say, conserve resources, reduce the cost, don't spend money. Some of those might be wise decisions, but sometimes the momentum is lost. Whatever you do, ensure that the momentum is picked up. And if you do not have the momentum, the discretionary efforts stop. Your people working with you will say, you know what? Everyone is stopping their work, no budget. We will also stop our extra work. So that is something that I want you to be very careful about in the days to come. And people during this time of risk and intensity, they think about three things. And I want you to keep this in mind as any of people who are working with you or people who are spending time with you at work. They look at three words. And I've written it there on the screen, but I'm going to say, one, people think during this time of instability, intensity, and risk, how do I decide how to work? Because everything seems to be changing. So people are in confusion. Some people do not know how to measure success. Please be careful about your high performers who work along with you. Or some of you might be high performers. You know, one of the advantages of high performers, they're ready to put in a lot of effort, a lot of discretionary effort. But during the time of difficult times like this, during work times that are stressful, the company always relies on the good performers and the high performers to contribute more. So what happens? They are made to work more and more and more and more and more. 1 month, 1 week, 2 months, 3 months. After some time, they burn out. Then what happens? a lot of organizations suddenly realize that they were going relatively well and they go down. And what is the reason? And the reason that has been said is our top performers don't know what happened, but they are not performing as much because they realized that I'm being made to work so much, but there is another guy sitting there who's not spending time at the same time and is getting the same pay as what I'm getting. And there are a lot of people who spend a lot of time sitting and doing a lot of work, and they say, I'm putting hard work, but someone else is doing a lot of smart work and getting the good credit for it. So there's a lot of confusion during this time. How can you help? Or if you are going through this stress, or if you are going through this kind of instability, there is only one thing to say. Be true to your personal goals, values, and strengths as a professional. There is a choice that you can do. One, protect your job. Second, ensure that you are spending your time and effort well. Some people know that within 2 hour time, they know how to spend their time well. But some people are very social. For a 2-hour work, they need 4 hours. They need to go and talk, and maybe one cigarette, one coffee, then one walk around the place, one bathroom break. Some people, that is their work style. You cannot compare one to the other and say one is better or the other is better. Within the time, they will be completing their work. But some are secluded people. Some people are social people. Today, the social people are missing the fact that they cannot go to office. Some of them are managing that well, some of them are not. So be careful and reach out to them. And also the last part of it is also know how to forecast what kind of skills are required. And that is why we are possibly sitting here and talking. 2 words we hear, coping and adapting. They are similar words, but not the same. Coping is adjusting, is about dealing with and managing. It's relatively short term, but adapting is changing, evolving, reshaping, editing, and because it's longer term. Example would be if you have a guest at home, you share your 1 bedroom for them, you give it to them for 1 night, and you manage all kids and all people sleep together in the other place. That is coping. It is short term. Adapting is when possibly you are decided that you're going to have 2 more tenants living with you, friends of yours, or you get married, or whatever it is. Then it is a longer term one. And adapting, that requires longer skills. I'm a family coach, I'm a family counselor. I meet a lot of people, couple, who have a difficulty because in family life, they try to cope and not to adapt. Friends, if any one of you in your personal or professional life think that I am not doing very well with this new scenario, think, are you only coping as a short term or are you really adapting? And that makes a big difference in the way you build up. I'll be happy to have a conversation on this later as time comes by. So let us look at it once again. To have competitive advantage, we need to adapt. That's all that I want to say. Let me go forward. Let us spend a little bit of time on organizational adaptability and personal adaptability. I understand that we have around 20 minutes more. We are halfway through the session. All of you know about Nokia. Nokia at one point of time used to have 73% market share. They had an amazing European company. And I'm sure all of you sitting here, or most of you sitting here, had at least one Nokia phone that they inherited or they had purchased. And I started my mobile phones possibly with Nokia. World leader in handphones. 2002, they actually came with the first smartphone. They actually came with apps and all those things. And you know what the leaders, Carl Johansson and other people said? They said, right now, this battery, because the smartphones were larger screens, and the battery was dying within half a day. They had not built the battery capacity then. They said, who's going to buy a Nokia phone? Once you charge it for 3 days, 4 days, it will run well. So they said, let us stop this. 2007, Apple comes into the market with its iPhone. Apple completely destroys, decimates Nokia as a market. From having 73% market share, in 2007, they went down to 50% market share. 6 years later, they sold it to Microsoft. They had a last market share of 2.3% in the entire market. Thankfully, some people were still holding on. Possibly our parents were still holding on to their phones. 3% market share. You know what happened? Because they forgot the first key skill of organizational adaptability, the ability to read and act on signals. They failed to see that Apple was coming with an adaptive system. They came with telecom partnerships and independent application developers Google's Android came with hardware assets and teams and collaborations. They forgot that that was important. So two platforms came up, iOS and Android, and today most of you sitting here right now possibly would be having one of the two. Think about it. They forgot from being a leader. They forgot. They tried a lot of technology. They tried everything. Unfortunately, their technology was very good, but unfortunately, they missed the bus because others, people got used to it. Remember this, my dear friends. Sometimes, if you're running a consultancy, if you're running a startup, sometimes you might be having a great product, but sometimes your great product is not accepted by the market, not because you have problems, but because people have got used to another alternate system that they are finding it very uncomfortable to leave and come to yours. Today, I know that air purifiers are very good. I know it is very good. You can keep it in the room, but I don't need an air purifier. I'm used to a life without it. So I will not buy an air purifier. I know it is a great product, but I will not go for it unless at one point of time it becomes an issue. Take the example of Delhi. Delhi always had air purifiers, but the moment the smog and other problem came, everyone started buying it. So you need a reason to change. And today, I would want you to look at it and say, please, as a person, have the ability to read and act on the signals that come. Look at your own strengths. But sometimes our strengths can prevent us from being successful. Because if we are very good at what we are doing, we will never look at other options because we are doing well, our money is coming, our business is good, our skills are good. Bangalore, I live in Bangalore. Bangalore is looking at close to 1.7 lakh senior managers and senior managers going to lose their jobs possibly in the next 6 to 7 months. Whether it will happen or not, let us pray it doesn't happen. But there is a report that says so many people will miss their job. You know why? Because for the last 15 years, they've been doing the same job. They've never had a chance to adapt because they were doing very well. They were getting paid very well. Current success sometimes can become a barrier. Keep an eye for what the industry is doing. Look at integrations that were happening. Nokia looked at them but did not take care of it. Evaluate new technologies and build capacity in advance. Look at people, what do they want? Study demographics. Remember, business is never about the product alone, it is about the user. That we all know, but we forget it because of the beauty of the technology that we have in our hand. We say the customer will find use for it, but work the other way around. Make it customer friendly, and you will see how many changes that will happen. Play to your market. If you're working for a market in Trivandrum, a salaried or slightly a salaried class people versus a Calicut, which is more a business class or a Middle East money class people, your audience is different. Look at it and play to your market and build collaborations that will build. Second key skill is the ability to experiment. Procter Gamble, they started in 2002 a particular program called Connect and Develop. What they did was they said, we have researchers looking at new product. You know, Procter & Gamble is into the field of FMCG and related products. So they said, we're going to release this. Anyone who wants to use our facility can use our facility. Anyone who wants to bring their technology to us can bring our technology. We will ensure that we will reward you for whatever you bring. It was more like a talent hunt kind of thing. And today, 80% of the new business of Procter & Gamble comes from the platform called the Virtual Toolbox, which came from the Connect and Develop group. Now, they could have very well said that I have an internal team. They will find new products. Thank you very much. But they reached out. 35% of new products that came in the first 2 years that were successful, that did more than 1 billion sales, has come from these external people. They were rewarded, they were awarded, and the ability to experiment without shame, sharing information and experimenting is something that they did. Know your strengths, involve your stakeholders. Speak to your clients, use focus group discussions. Housewives, if they are somewhere influential, get them to call them for a focus group discussion. Do open source, do multi-stakeholder conversations, break existing models that you're working with. But most importantly, in all that you do, trust your people to go ahead and do that. Because centrally, you cannot control all this. You have to allow your people to go and unlock the resource of your people and allow them to do. We spoke about 2 key skills required. First, we spoke about the importance of ability to read and act. Second, we spoke that it is important for you to experiment. And the third key skill is the ability to manage multiple stakeholders and multiple markets. Sometimes our products that we deal with or the kind of clients that we deal with are very specific, but you never know. Sometimes in Oman or in some other country, in Thailand, Taiwan, somewhere there might be a potential client for you. Try to reach out and spread. Retail Link was the name of a software released by Walmart. I used to work because I used to be GM of working in Walmart for the HR for a few years. So Retail Link is something that I'm very familiar with. What they did was they brought the software and they said all the companies or vendors or suppliers, they were all given the software and said, you can source the material. You don't need us to type in out stuff. You can do it. You can order. We will not even order your products. So if I am a vendor who is selling water bottles, I don't have to wait for an order from Walmart. I just have to go to my Retail Link. It will say that those many stores require 10 or 20,000 water bottles. So what will I do? I will directly take these water bottles and create an invoice myself and send it to Walmart, and Walmart will pay me. Walmart is not involved in the making of the order because they have outsourced and got the markets to make their decisions themselves. And that is where you have to risk partnerships. Risk partnerships with people if you want to be adaptable. Risk partnerships with people who are very sure of their strengths. Push your non-core activities outside your company control. May I give a small word of advice and friendly advice to people who are planning to start their startups or who run their own startups. Here is one thing that I want to tell you. Many people, because of your strength is in the product that you have, and because you have designed it and it is in your laptop, you have made everything, even when the company becomes big, many people don't delegate it further. They still keep it. Invoicing is done by them. Talking is done by them. RFPs are done by them. It is time that you have to release out. It is time that you need to understand that the non-core activities have to be pushed outside. Failure will happen. Be tolerant to it because it is in the good of the system, and value the local research that comes in. And every time there is a challenge, you can either focus on the customer to get value, or you can focus on improving and saving the company's money. Do not leave the customer to save money. If you want, focus on the customer without losing a lot of money, of course. Focus on the customer and try to build a little bit on the money that you might save or operational efficiency. Many companies these days have laid off people, asked people to go, have reduced their salaries, because what they're doing is to control the operational cost. But the question there is, have you built capability? Have you built capacity to build your people and the customers who are the actual recipients of your value? Question that you have to ask yourself. That's not something that can be asked by anyone else. It's your question. It is your decision. But here is the choice. Should I look at my customer and give him value, or should I look at my operational efficiency? This is the one that hits me hard, but here is the guy who pays me the money. So always focus on the customer and build capability. The fourth and the last skill is the ability to mobilize your team. Mobilize here means energize, make them good. I don't know how many of you have heard about the Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines, each employee, they're supposed to be one of the best companies, consistently in the great place to work for surveys that come in. And you know what? They are told each employee has the right to spend or take decisions. They can choose to upgrade a person from economy class to business class. Wouldn't we like that? We would love it, right? If someone upgrades us from cattle class to royal class, would we feel fine? It is their choice. They can do it. And the company says, we know that you will do it on discretion and you will do it for the good of the company. They are one of the best recognized companies because they understand one core value of adaptability. The decision makers should be the first people who see the problem or who ensure that they have to act upon the problem. The decision is moved, driven to the front line. My dear friends, when you are a small organization, you are the front line. When you become bigger, you need to know how to pass that on. So that adaptability happens first when it is recognized, it is handled, and then you can handle the bigger part of it later. If it is raining, either the decision can come to me asking that, hey, Vijay, can I take an umbrella and cover myself in the rain? Versus, it is raining, I have an umbrella with me, company has given, I open the umbrella and I'm happy. The same way, if I have the skills to handle my needs, then and there, your efficiency is managed. So build capacity, honor them, build your people, always value the people who you work with. And I'm sure some of you sitting here would be saying, I wish my boss heard this and he would value me. Same thing, you can go to him and say, no, I feel less valued. I want to be more adaptable. Give me more capacity and risk-taking skills. So 4 skills we spoke about organizational adaptability. 1, you should have the ability to read and act on signals. 2nd, you should have the ability to experiment. 3rd, the ability to manage multiple vendors and multi-market systems. And finally, the ability to mobilize your team to make them good. And that, my dear friends, helps you handle the challenges of your business. But here is something that you have to be careful about. Keep an eye on disruptors. You know what disruptors means? People who suddenly come into the market and completely upset the apple cart. For example, we used to say Chinese umbrella. You know, in India, we used to have St. George umbrella and Poppy Kuda and John Kuda and all that. Suddenly came the Chinese umbrellas at 120 rupees, 99 rupees, Big Bazaar and other people started selling it. So people no more wanted Poppy Koda and John's Koda and other Kodas. What they wanted now was Chinese Koda, because you could use and throw. Different color, different things. It had a gun at one end for children. It could a hockey stick. It would all those things. So they are disruptors. They come in the market. Understand who are the disruptors who sometimes might be playing low than you or high than you. Keep an eye on your disruptors. Put an initiative on every disruptor. If you see a disruptor in the market, do not ignore. Remember Nokia. Do not ignore them. Put an eye on them, put some initiative on them, do some data collation, ensure that they are in your radar. Identify what are the uncertainties in your business. Also, which are the strengths that you have not yet used. Maybe you've got some great strengths. Some of your people might be having great strengths. We were doing a project with Biocon and we had the senior team there with us. I'm naming them because it is a great example that I would want you to share with you. So the senior leaders were all sitting, and these were like director level research people. They were all sitting. So I gave a paper to all of them and said, why don't you write down what all you can do other than what you are doing right now for your job, for your designation and your job. So they wrote a lot of things. When we brought them together, we almost had a data analytics team sitting there right in front of us. We never knew that. They were either PMs who grew to become directors, or they were people who were handling multiple projects taken from other companies. So a new team could have been completely formed. These are unexploited strengths that you may have. Keep a business continuity plan, an alternate, a backup plan for every critical function and strategy. Are you having a partner who is a critical person and him or her leaving would leave the business in disarray? If that is the case, it is time for you to keep an alternate ready, not in terms of a person, but in terms of a technology, or keep him engaged. Increase the clock speed for decision making. That's the last part of it. We already spoke about that. And most importantly, like what Southwest Airlines did, delegate authority to your teams. Their cell phone, they'll come back and report to you. Max to max, they will take a little bit extra time. I don't know how many of you have heard of the company called Kronos. And Kronos, they have a very interesting policy, and you'll be interested to hear this. Their policy is each employee of Kronos can take as many vacations as they want to, PLs, privileged leaves. You can take 360 days, 365 days holiday also, no problem, as long as your work is done. So they said, it is your adjustment between your manager and you. If you want to take 20 days, 40 days, 100 days, you can take, no problem, unlimited vacation. So the top performers, it was identified after 2 years, they took double the normal time of vacation because they felt they were really putting hard money, effort. The low performers, they took half less than the approved minimum. You know why? Because they felt I did not deserve it. And they struggled hard, worked hard so that they would come up. It actually became a point of motivation for some of them to come to the next level. I'm not saying that the same thing should be given here in your companies. And I wish when I was also working, people had given vacation opportunities like that. They don't give it anymore like that. But that is about delegating to self-owned. And that is where individual adaptability, individual ownership comes in. And as we go through these few things, I'm sure you recognize individual adaptability. Each one of you, if you are successful, the reason is because you have decided that I'm going to be adaptable. No one can, they say, no, you can bring a horse to the water, but you cannot force it to drink. It is like that. I can be adaptable. If I want to win, if I want to be adaptable, I will be adaptable. If I don't want to be adaptable, I will not be adaptable. So it is an attitudinal thing. If you have any person in your team who is not adapting, don't work on the process, but work on his mindset. Talk to him, find out, take him out for a cup of tea, coffee, talk to him what is happening. Things might be very different. And how do you adapt? When there is no risk or stress during this time, ask for opportunities, take new challenges, new situations, new experiences, identify your stress points. There are some people who are mentally very strong, physically very strong, but they don't have the skills, the competence. Some people have great competence, but no physical stress. They're like, oh, after 3 hours, they're like very tired, because they might be sometimes working mothers taking care of a baby at home. They might be taking care of some home requirements. It might be a working father who at home might be helping an elder parent or something. We do not know. These days, things could be very, very different and private. So understand what could be the stress point, why adaptability is not happening. Be conscious that earlier in your life, has there been any time you found that whenever there is a stress like this, I was not able to handle it. If you think you've got any risk area or a fault line with you, take help. And it is very important that you have someone to give feedback to you also, and have enough people to give you stress support. Stress support means not to increase stress, but to reduce stress. There are people who go back home and they feel very, very, very relieved because they've got children, family, garden, movies, TV, something. But some people, when they go home, they're like, oh, I'm going home. Not very easy for some of them. Whatever it might be, use it and understand and handle it. Have the right skills. Know how to monitor the changes. Be ready to invest in learning. There are a lot of people that I know who are investing in learning by going to these Harvard, Udemy, or an academy, a lot of these courses, EduX, Coursera, a lot of skills that they are doing. It is not about spending time alone. It is about ensuring that you are making use of it. I can have so many books. I have so many books in my library. I can tell you some of these books have impacted me a lot. Some of them I have not even read. It is there. Maybe it is there for beauty value. One book is there. I might read it later. But only when I take the book and read it, I'll know the value of it. Invest time and effort in learning. The world of 1990s to last year, they say, was a world of smart working. The world from today onwards, they say, is a time of intelligent and informative working. So it is important that you learn, understand. There are a lot of things that you can learn for free, but also spend time. Be okay in spending a little bit of money on buying some good courses also. Know the levels of adaptability. Where all should I adapt? Is it related to my work? Is it related to my social life? Sometimes some of you might be like today, someone was saying that, he's dieting. Maybe because, you're dieting because you want to ensure you have a healthy life. Or some of you might be dieting because you have diabetes. Some of you would be dieting because you don't have an option to make any food at home. Different reasons. Whatever it might be, you ensure that you adapt it and understand that it is going to help me or not help me. If it is not going to help you, remove it and improve on your personal skills. Be ready to scale up. Have better learning agility. I'm not going to go there. One word and one slide I want to use, one phrase I want to use is the last slide, is the last that you see here on this slide. Ambiguity tolerance. Now, I know that it is evening time and the day is long and all of you would be tired, but I want to take your attention to this one slide I'm going to show you. You know the word ambiguity. It means unsure, not clear. That's what it means, right? Ambiguity. One of the biggest skills in adaptability is your ability to tolerate this unclear and unsure world. I normally say that even for a family life, even for a personal life, even for a professional life, wherever you take, this handling and the ability to handle unclear, unsure, next step, I do not know what it is, that would be a hallmark. If you are very good at tolerating it and handling it, you will be able to come and adapt very well. If you can't change the situation, you can at least change the response to the situation, right? So ask these questions. I'm going to show you some questions right now. I want you to ask these questions to yourselves. When you have ambiguity, when you have challenges, do you try to control what is happening by taking charge and saying, there is no need of ambiguity, I will clear it and find it? Or do you enjoy the excitement and say, I don't know how it is going to be, but come on, let us try it? Because some people say, I will not do anything unless and until I'm sure about what it is. Some people say, I'm okay with the unknown. Some people wait and they say, let others do it. Let others explain. Let it come on YouTube. You know, these are the people who, when they have to buy possibly a new phone, will go 10 times and look at YouTube and see which are the comparator phones that have come, which is the best one. They look at others because they want to be sure that they're making the right investment. Do you wait for others to explain and do something about it? Or do you worry about whether or not, if I make a wrong decision, what will happen? If I make a right decision, what will happen? Do you worry about it? Are you a worrier? So you can be any of this or a combination of all these. Or do you use the opportunity to learn new behaviors, new practices? I'm sure that is something that all of you have been in your past. I can give an example. I'm from Alleppey region. I must be the only guy from Alleppey region who cannot swim, because I had a small incident when I was a little boy, and I have a fear of swimming. I tried everything possible. Even today, when I go underwater, I find it difficult and I come out. Possibly, there is something that is in my mind that is unsurmountable, that is not yet covered. Maybe I'm waiting for a resource to come and collect. So what do? The moment I see water, I stay away. Do I enjoy the water? I cannot enjoy water. Why? Because I'm staying away. That doesn't help me. If I want to be adaptable, I have to try right now. Now, little by little, we have to try and put our effort. Here is a risk if you are a person who's trying to control. If you're a guy who controls and tries to do everything, the risk that might happen with you is that you will spend a lot of energy and lose a lot of energy. I'm just telling you the risks for you to be aware of it. Second, if you are ready to experiment and go in an uncharted path, possibility is that you will not see what others have to say about it. If you're someone who is waiting for others to say and advise you what is to be done, you might be losing time. That is a risk. If you're someone who's worried whether you have to make the right decision or not, you might lose your confidence. And if you're someone who is waiting to try new behaviors, you might be losing speed. So all these things, thank you, Mr. Jaykishore, 15 minutes, thank you. You might be losing speed. Everything that is gain, that you want to gain, has some challenge. But don't worry about it. Sometimes the challenge that you have, the risk that you have, is smaller when compared to the benefit that you have. So do not look at the risk. A lot of people do not become adaptable because they look at the risk. They say, I will lose energy, I will lose time, I don't know whether I'll take the right decision. Don't worry about it. The value of what you get might be better. So please ensure that you evaluate. You're all intelligent people, and I'm sure you'll be able to do that. And that is where you need to understand the enemies of adaptability. The first enemy of adaptability is too many options. I don't know what to do. It is like saying, I've got too many pens in my hand. I don't know which pen to write. Some of us, when I saw it, you take the first pen and start writing. But some people you give, like children, when you give, they will not know which one to use. So too many options can be a reason why you are not adaptable, because you are still playing with it. Second reason, some of us sitting here might be perfectionists. Unless something is perfect, they will not do it. They will wait to look at, for example, a design course. They will, let us say, if you're looking at an agile course, for example, you will look at 10 sites which has the best session, and you look here and there and there. What happens? By the time you're supposed to learn it, the time is over. Sometimes that perfection paradox is a reason of enemy of adaptability. Third reason is that you don't know what you want. If you don't know what you want, you will not be able to adapt well. Fourth, fear. Some people are afraid that today I'm okay, I don't want to make a change. Like, for example, some people don't want to leave their job and search for a new job because they fear that what if I don't get a good one? What if the bargain is bad? So fear could be something. Defensive thinking. I have my family to take care of. I have some things to take care of. So right now, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to keep it. Sometimes it is good. Sometimes it is not good. Remember, my dear friends, fear and defensive thinking sometimes helps us. It helps us avoid the risks. But sometimes you have to evaluate and see, is it important? Habit, changing a habit and trying something new might not be possible for some people. So if you know that you have a rigid structure, too many bosses telling something, you want to learn something, that so many forms and reports to be done, if that's the case also, you will not adapt. So understand what are the enemies of adaptability, use that and build your skills. So I'm not going to go into how to build your skills, but I want to take you to one book that you see at the bottom right side of the screen. There's a book by the name The First 20 Hours by Josh Kaufman. I think it's a book around 300 to 400 rupees in Amazon or Flipkart. I would urge you, if possible, I don't get any benefit by any commission by selling this book, but if you can buy this book, this is a beautiful book that speaks about building new skills and being adaptable. I will recommend this book because I personally gained a lot. So let me summarize. So the last part of what I'm saying is reimagine the fitness, the professional fitness of you as a person and your organization and the team that you represent. Ensure that in terms of technology, you're right up there, your fitness is there. Scalability, whether it is 5 customers, 100 customers, 1,000 customers, you can manage it. In terms of the sustainability, not only can I do it, I can continue doing it for a long period of time. Future proof that whatever I'm doing is good for the future. Build the right talent that you have. Ensure that your people are the best. Ensure that your cash flow is correctly maintained. A lot of startups are very good Imagineers, but very poor finance people. So if you want, get a finance person to help you, guide you. I can tell you, one of the reasons why a lot of startups in Bangalore, 1 out of 7 startups only survive the 14-month mark. And the reason is this, that the owner of the startup thinks that he can manage his resources well, even his finance. Sometimes that could be a reason why it fails. So if you want to adapt to a larger sustainable thing, even understand which are the ones you need to let go of. Relevance, always have the right relevance and be incremental. Today should be better than tomorrow. So believe in your own story. Evaluate options for improvement. Ensure that you're adaptable. I'm not going to go that because we already said that. The story is yours. No one can say, no one can force, no one can establish adaptability in you. I will adapt because I recognize a need for adapting. I recognize a value I get for adapting. And that is what I would want you to do that. Yes, Sajir, there is a TED Talk by Josh Kaufman. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you can, and the book has actually much more than what Josh Kaufman speaks in the TED Talk. In YouTube, there are actually 3 videos of Josh Kaufman, and you can read through that. Sajir, thank you for sharing that. So I want you to believe that it is your story. Go ahead and make your script work. Do not copy what others say. Make your script work and success will be yours. I want to thank you very much, and I wish you the very best in all that you do. And I hope that this little time that we spent, you were able to move 1 step forward, 1 step upward in your capacity to adapt. I will open the time for questions and answers. And I want to thank you once again, particularly PMI Kerala, Dr. Krishna Kumar, and all people for helping me arrange this particular event today. Questions?